Hi everyone, it's Matt here from Greatness Everyday, and in this video I'm going to explain to you why I bought this Scratch the World travel map that you can see behind me, why I think travel forces you to grow personally, and thirdly, why I am prioritizing travel this year. So I've gone ahead and the other day I ordered this map that you can see behind me off Amazon, and it came in, shipped in this container here. The cylinder, it's got two caps on an end, and a really important detail here was this map was covered in plastic. That map was covered in plastic. I took it apart because I was really excited to see the map and then go ahead and make this video, and I made a very big mistake. So I took that map out, I looked at it, I said, oh, this is a beautiful map. I put it back into this cylinder without the plastic wrapping on it. And when I took it out for the video, as you can see here, you're not going to notice that a few parts got scratched. Now that's on me, that's not on the people that shipped it. The good thing is I've been to one of those countries that got scratched a little bit, but I guess the next two are the other two countries that I'm going to have to go to because of the scratches, and prioritize pretty soon if that's who you are and you are OCD and those things bother you. But really what I want to talk about here is why I bought this map. And the very first reason that I bought a map, I just like maps in general. I've always thought since I was young that maps of the world are really interesting, understanding the countries, understanding different cultures. Whenever I would do school projects when I was a younger kid, I loved learning about culture and religion and sports and the food that they eat coming from these different areas. And that was really, when I was young, my introduction to other cultures, other countries, and things like that. But then as I got a little bit older, I started watching TV. And one of the coolest shows that I really enjoyed watching was a show called Departures, where you had two Canadian guys travel the world with their friend who was a cameraman. And basically with that, I saw a very raw and authentic and not going to these big major tourist destinations. And I also saw a lot of growth that the two people running the show, or that were the subject of the show, went through over the course of their few seasons that they put on. And Departures is a great show. I love going back every once in a while and re-watching episodes, because I can just remember being in high school and just soaking up every single episode as that show went on. But one of the big reasons I bought this map is to really, go ahead and learn and discover and see where I've been, but ultimately to hold myself accountable. So if I have this map up in a living room or an office and I invite people over and they can see that I've been to, let's say, 3 countries, for just as an example, right? You think you know the world. You think you can watch the news headlines and understand and be very worldly, but how can you know the world if you've only been to 3% of it, or you've been to 2% of it, or 5%, right? What you need to do, and what I'm trying to do, is to travel, to experience these areas. And traveling as something, as I've gotten older, I've begun to understand the importance of, and I've also at the same time begun to be able to travel as I get a job and as I'm able to save up money, right? When you're a kid, it's different. You want to travel to all these places, but you might not have the means to. Your family might not be able to pay for everybody to go on a trip to Europe or go on a trip to Asia or something like that. My family growing up, we did travel quite a bit. We traveled quite a bit within North America, in Canada and the US, but we never really traveled internationally. So that was something that I was always looking forward to. And I didn't go on my first international trip outside of North America, let's say, until I was 18. And I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna go through and scratch off the places that I've been, tell you what I think about the map, and then ultimately share a few stories on why I think travel is important. And I ultimately wish that I traveled more, but the cool thing about this is this map is going to hold me accountable. It's going to really challenge me to get to the different continents and then get to as many countries as I can and document those and relive some of those memories that I have, at the same time while challenging and inspiring me to go to some other areas where I haven't been, and really see how my growth goes as I travel more and more and more. So let's get into it right now. I really do wish that I traveled more. I had some opportunities in the past to travel, that I gave up because of money or because of work situations or because I just really was scared to travel to a certain country or a certain area, to be honest. But as I've traveled more and more, I've become more and more comfortable. I'm really looking at expanding those horizons as I continue going. So here's the map. As you can see, Scratch the World is the name of this specific one, the Scratch the World travel map. The areas in North America, in Canada and the US, for example, are sectioned off into provinces and states. Whereas I don't think too many of the other areas is. Australia is sectioned off into their divisions as well. But I think for the most part, that is pretty much it from what you can see here. So what I'm going to do is scratch these off. I'm going to use a guitar pick. I've got a bunch of them here. You might use a coin, something else. They really suggest scratching off your countries that you visited by going ahead and doing this on a horizontal surface. So you don't want to have your map up and be scratching and scratching and scratching. Scratch too hard so that it pulls and rips the map out of the thumbtacks that you've used or something else. So I'm going to go ahead and build a frame for this eventually, which will be really easy for me to take down and put back up so that I can scratch it horizontally. I've already kind of messed the map up a little bit up here in Russia, Japan, and Australia. Again, that's my fault because I put it back into that container to get started. But what I'm going to do is scratch off the countries that I've been to. And actually, since I've been to one of those countries I just named, I'm gonna go ahead and do that one first. So I traveled to Australia a few years ago, let's say about 6 years ago. I traveled to Melbourne. I lived in Melbourne for a couple months' time as I was completing an internship. I am a high school teacher. That was an internship that allowed me to go through, get a cultural experience a country that is very similar to Canada, where I live in some ways, but at the same time, extremely very different in many other ways. And I loved my time in Australia. So I'm gonna go through, scratch that off right now and just give you some feedback here. So there we go, Australia is scratched off. You're going to notice though, down here, I left this territory, Tasmania, off because it's one place that I would really like to visit. The ruggedness of it, I know some people there as well, so that would be exciting for me. So I left that off to remind me, to inspire me to go back there. When I was in Australia, I was mainly on the East Coast and really looking at being in Melbourne for the most of my time. Sydney, as well as up onto the Gold Coast. So that is Australia. That is where I have traveled. The next place, of course, I'm going to talk about is where I live here in Canada. I live on the East Coast, but I have been to quite a few different provinces. Again, traveling to the provinces that I've been to very frequently. At the same time, there's some other spots that I haven't been that I'm really excited to go as soon as I can. So I live here on the East Coast. I've been to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So the nice thing about a pick is you have those thicker areas where you're able to scratch the map out, as well as the smaller pointy area. And if you're looking at scratching the countries off province by province or state by state, this is something that is going to really help you. So I've been everywhere on the East Coast except for Newfoundland and Labrador. It's somewhere that I am really excited to go. It's just there are certain points where they're a little bit more isolated as you go through here. And as I go across from Canada, from the East Coast, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, into Quebec, into Ontario, I have not been to Manitoba and I've not been to Saskatchewan. I have been to Alberta and British Columbia. And then I haven't been up to the Yukon, which is probably, of those provinces and territories that I have left remaining, probably the place that I would like to go the most, Northwest Territories or none of it. So that's Canada as we go through. I live very close to the border with the United States. So I spent a lot of time traveling in the US, specifically the Northeast US. So that's where I'm gonna go ahead and scratch in next, as I've been to Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Florida, really the eastern seaboard as we look at it. I forgot to mention Washington, D.C. as well. And then on the West Coast, the only place I've been is California. All right, so that's where I have been in the US as far as I can remember, as far as I can tell. And then I spent a few years living in the Caribbean. I lived in the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Beautiful place, such beautiful people, a place that really holds a big place in my heart. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can even find that on the map first off. So it is on the map. The only thing is you can't really tell because it's so small really which one it is. So for this case, I'm gonna scratch off the smallest piece possible. And I did get it. And also in the Caribbean, I've been to Antigua and Barbuda and Barbados off the top of my head. And then a place that I always forget about, but I really can't because it's so beautiful, and I really enjoyed my time there, was Bermuda, up here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Another dot in the middle of the ocean. So that is where I've traveled within North America. I haven't been to South America. I have not been to Europe. I haven't been to Africa. I haven't been to Asia. I have been down into Oceania, as I talked about before. So as you can see, there's so much of the world that I have left to see. There's so much growth that comes with each and every personal trip that I go on. So I'm really going to prioritize this year trying to go to 2 new countries, 2 new places that I have not been. That's something that I really believe the money that I spend going there would be extremely useful. That's something that I really believe the time I spend going there is going to be very enjoyable and something that I'm able to learn a lot from. So I'd really encourage you, if you want to get a copy of this map or any other one like it, I'm going to leave a link down in the video description. Please click that link and see what you can do. So that's everywhere that I've been on the world map. You can see there really isn't a lot of it scratched off. It's just a small percentage of the countries. So now when I watch the news, when I think I'm having these deep and worldly discussions, I really should be checking myself and say, hey, you think you know something about a certain people group or a certain culture? You need to get out there more, Matt. You need to travel. You need to put your money into these trips. You need to invest the time and energy that it takes to go and do these things, because you're really going to benefit. You're really going to grow a lot and have these experiences that you never quite know who you're going to meet, what you're going to do, or how those, or what those experiences will teach you in the future. So if you want to get a copy of this map for yourself, go ahead down in the video description below. I've left a link there. You can get this map, or you can browse the other ones. You can see which one you like best, but it's a really cool activity to hold you accountable. Maybe you have a YouTube channel and you want to go ahead and document where your followers or your subscribers are from. This is a really cool thing that you can use, a really neat tool that you can use to see how your influence and impact is growing around the world. So that's another cool idea. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments below. I also want to hear, where do you want to travel next? I really want to travel to Europe. I want to go to Switzerland or Italy. I want to travel to other places in the world. Japan is somewhere that I've really been interested in for a very long time, since I have a lot of friends that are living there. So where do you want to travel next in the world? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'm excited to hear from you there. So I hope that this video helped. If it did, please click the thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Instagram for daily inspiration and encouragement to live a great life. You can also visit our website at www.gr8nesseveryday.com. Thanks for watching. Be sure to choose greatness every day, and we'll see you in the next video.